Beautiful.
Oh, beautiful.
So, pop quiz. This is not only a speech, but something else. What is the form of this prologue?
Are we doing this like Dora? Do we wait for the audience to shout back at us and then we clap for
They're
them?
usually pretty quiet.
I can't hear you.
Is it a sonnet?
It's a sonnet. Wow. Good job.
Wow.
It's a sonnet, as we've talked about so many times in this channel. It's not the first, or it is the first time. It's not the last time we get a secret sonnet in this play. So we will keep an eye out for that. It is done by a character called the chorus. Now, you might know of the Greek chorus that were in Greek plays. You might also know about the chorus in a musical. It's kind of similar to that. So if you know your favorite musical, if they have a chorus, it functions in a similar way, kind of just explaining what's going on. Think of the first song in Beauty and the Beast.
Look, there she goes, the girl is strange, no question.
Or the first song in Hamilton.
Took a book collection just to send him to the mainland.
Or How Do We Solve a Problem Like Maria?
Maria's not an asset to the abbey.
We've set this play in Verona. That's a real city in Italy that you can go to if you want. The book took place in Italy, but also Shakespeare liked using Italy as a setting because the stereotype at the time was that Italians were emotional, dramatic, and over the top.
I'll add one caveat to that also. The story originally came from Italy. A lot of the ones set in Italy did, but they were popular in England for the reason of, what are those spicy Italians up to?
What are these spicy Italians up to?
Did Shakespeare go to Italy?
Shakespeare did not go to Italy. That's why the description of Italy and the Italians is not at all like Italy. But
technically, there were 7 years of his life where we don't know what happened. He just came back and wrote Titus Andronicus, the most violent play of his career. And there's suspicions he may have been soldiering in Italy, which had conflicts.
You got caught by pirates.
He got kidnapped by pirates and wrote a lethal play.
Yes, Italians, overdramatic, etc. So it makes it a little more believable to the English audience, is the idea for it to be set in Italy as opposed to England, which was very reserved and proper, and that would never happen here, of course not. So we avoid offending the audience by setting it some faraway, spicy land. We're going to get in here and pick apart the language a little bit. So 2 households, 2 houses, they're both alike in dignity. They are both similar in social standing. They're in Verona. They have an ancient grudge. They have a family feud that is breaking to new mutiny. You probably have heard mutiny in reference to pirates. Think of it like that. So there's a grudge that's solid, then a mutiny is going to show up and break it apart. People are going to revolt and break apart this old grudge. Here, civil blood is making civil hands unclean. So these lovely, dignified people are about to get a little bloody. From forth the fatal loins of these 2 foes. Now this one's fun for me personally because the accent that Shakespeare and his actors had was much different than any accent that really exists today, but it's close to Scottish, close to the American South for some reason. But regardless, lines and loins were pronounced the same. So fatal loins obviously like where the babies come from, but also lines. So fatal lines that can be referenced to lines of poetry or to like the family lines. So cool wordplay that you might miss. They're showing up, these 2 foes. There's going to be a pair of star-crossed lovers and they're going to take their life. Spoilers, they're going to die.
Another double entendre there of taking their life as in being born. So they take their life, they're born, they're going to take their life, they're going to off themselves.
They're going to be unborn.
Whose misadventured piteous overthrows doth with their death bury their parents' strife. So more spoilers. With their death, they're going to bury their parents' strife. So their parents are fighting. But when these 2 star-crossed lovers take their own lives, they're going to bury that strife. So it's actually going to solve this problem.
I would interject too to say a lot of people who are like, the point of this play is to show that like, oh, young love was cut short and it sucks. And they're like, they were only in love for 3 days. How can that be real love? I think the greater point of the tragedy is that the violent exchange between these 2 houses was so bad that it caused something totally unrelated, 2 young kids falling in love, to end in a violent way. So that's like the tragedy. It's not that love was cut short. It's that violence is more powerful than love if it goes on for longer. But on the same token, love can end violence with its display of loviness, which, you know, is the romantic ideal at the time.
For a long time, they actually staged a lot of versions of this where they rewrote the ending so Romeo and Juliet didn't die. For about 100 years, that was pretty common. Kind of like there was a long time popular version of King Lear that was a comedy instead of a tragedy. It was a weird time post the Restoration.
Weird time.
But yeah, I mean, I guess to follow up on Drew's point, I think that's kind of the element here of bearing their parents' strife. This is I think a lot of people latch onto the dumb young love, but I think kind of the tragedy here is dumb young love should just end with maybe they elope and then realize they don't like each other and they're stuck together, and you know that sucks. It's the fact that in the context of the politics of Verona and the Lombards and their families, what should just be a dumb mistake turns into a permanent mistake.
Damn.
Yeah, there's a long tradition, I think, of turning tragedies into more uplifting dramas, because that's the type of story that's become more and more popular, something more uplifting and inspiring. Like Romeo and Juliet specifically is continuously reinterpreted as an inspiring story of young love conquering all, kind of undercut by the fact that they die. And this great tragedy of the vendetta prevents them from just being two young kids experimenting with romance for the first time. And we can talk about the differences between dramas and tragedy in another video maybe, but it's very interesting to me that people really want this to be a different type of story instead of finding the heart of what's so sad about it, which is this like endless violence.
I think that's a symptom of stories evolving over time. And nowadays, the story that made it in like the Globe Theater, we look at it and we go, this is dumb. This doesn't make any sense. Like, this isn't how the story would go. And I think that's fine. Shakespeare can still be a genius writer and just be using an outdated story. Because stories, I don't know like how many classics people would disagree with this, but old stories, great writing, terrible editing by today's standards. Like, oh my God, you need to get a modern editor on this.
Yeah. I mean, how many Nestor speeches did we completely skip over because they're pointless?
The character is useless.
Are you saying you're not a big fan of Nestor, the Granian horseman, and his wise counsel?
Again, go ahead and check out our entire series on the Iliad.
Okay, so we're almost done with this. So the next couple lines just kind of recap what we've already learned. So the continuance of their parents is rage, but except for their children's end, nothing could end their rage. Okay, not could remove it. That is going to be the 2 hours traffic of our stage. So for the next 2-ish hours on our stage, that's what we're going to show you, what I just explained. So if your patient ears are going to attend this performance, what you have missed in my long monologue here, we will try to show it to you with our toil. So it's kind of admitting this is a bit repetitive. I've already told you the whole story, but if you miss anything, just sit back. You're going to get all the details. That's where we're at.
Big ups to Shakespeare for giving the TLDR right at the front of the post.
Right.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty modern of him, bro.
Yeah.
I will say he is very meta. Like Shakespeare,
Pretty
he's
meta.
always been big on that. Like in a Midsummer Night's Dream, this exact same chorus is just Puck as an entire character. And the play in Midsummer Night's Dream, Pyramus and Thisbe, is a satire on Romeo and Juliet because it's the same plot, but him making fun of the decisions he made in the play. So like he does this all the time in his plays. He's like, so you're about to hear some, something I cooked up and it might be a little boring, but I don't think it will be. And he does it. He gets better and better at it as time goes on.
Oh my God, he's a shit poster of his own content.
Oh, Shakespeare was a meme lord for sure.
If you are happy with what you've seen, give us a like.
If you have ever been a teenager or will be a teenager, give a thumbs up.
Yeah.
Or are a teenager.
And ring the
No,
bell.
teenagers can actually. Only
Teenagers, thumbs
only
down.
past or future teenagers.
Leave a comment.
Yeah,
you know.
let us know what you think of love as a teenager. From the teenager's perspective today, we need to know.
Yeah. And subscribe if you want to see us read the rest of the play, which we will be doing very shortly. Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Bye.